I'm Elliot Kleinberg, and this is Something Went Horribly Wrong, a blog about bad writing and how to fix it. Segment 50, Call Me Poindexter. It's our 50th segment. Such an occasion calls for a special segment. Today, we write poorly on purpose. Now, we've been saying throughout this column that good writing, whether in your company, to your retail customers, or for the New York Times bestseller list, isn't just about proper grammar. Good writing is about clarity and impact, about avoiding cliches and redundancies and passive writing, about throwing out unnecessary words, about not being a cowardly writer. Now, the legendary authors all knew that. They wrote bravely, and the world is better for it. So we've taken the opening lines and one closing line from classic stories and rewritten them in ways that likely would not have gotten a publisher's attention. Try to guess the line and the work before we tell you. Do this on a dark and stormy night. Number 1. An elderly fishing professional who operated as a sole proprietor in a small vessel on the open ocean began to develop feelings of frustration because a total of 2 months, 3 weeks, and a day had elapsed, during which he had had no success. Well, you ought to be able to figure that one out. He was an old man who fished alone in a skiff in the Gulf Stream, and he had gone 84 days now without taking a fish. Old Man in the Sea, perhaps my favorite book. The next one. Upon my birth, my parents decided to assign me the Christian name of Ishmael, and you, of course, are welcome to greet me with that appellation. Well, you know this one. Call me Ishmael, Moby Dick. My business partner had passed away. That conclusion is not in dispute. His interment was authenticated by a religious official, a clerk, a funeral home representative, and the acquaintance who participated in the most substantial grief process. Okay, you got that one too. Marley was dead to begin with. There is no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Christmas Carol. Next one. I will allow as how I have experienced nervousness, and those symptoms are ongoing. However, I would dispute a finding that I am suffering from mental illness. One of my favorite writers, of course, Edgar Allan Poe. True, nervous, very, very nervous I am and had been and am. But why will you say I am mad? It's from The Telltale Heart. Next, it's possible you became acquainted with my reputation after perusing a volume that described journeys and escapades undergone by a colleague. In any event, it bears no consequence. Okay. You don't know about me without you have read a book by the name of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, but that ain't no matter. Mark Twain, Huckleberry Finn. The era had resulted in the most positive of outcomes, but paradoxically, it also had been the most unpleasant period. Well, you ought to get that one. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Tale of Two Cities. Each young person eventually achieves maturity with one exception. Even if you're not familiar with the line, you probably can figure out all children except one grow up. Peter Pan. The proceeding did occur, albeit perhaps not in the exact way described. One of my favorites from college. All this happened more or less. Slaughterhouse-Five, Kurt Vonnegut. Family units find amity mostly in similar manners, but each family suffering from strife falls into that situation via its own path. Happy families are all alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. Anna Karenina. I found great enjoyment in incineration. It was a pleasure to burn. Fahrenheit 451. And finally, he powered off the lighting and entered my brother's sleeping area. He He would remain for the duration of the evening and would be present the following morning when my brother rose from his sleep. Well, you know that classic. He turned out the light and went into Jem's room. He would be there all night, and he would be there when Jem waked up in the morning. Kill a Mockingbird. Next time, maybe. I'm Elliot Kleinberg. Visit ekfla.com. That's ekfla.com.